The usual flight pattern of a horror movie sequel is the original comes out, it has modest success, or perhaps like the lead character really catches on and people remember it, and then they quick make a second one and it's not as good, but they hurry up and make a third one too before the window closes. And then if, you know, all things go well, they get to a fourth or a fifth and, you know, Jason 15 or whatever. But this is one of the only times in horror movie history I can think of where the trilogy was planned out, Lord of the Rings style. So like when you make the first one, you know there's going to be a second and a third. Really what they're doing is, instead of having like a 6-part miniseries, they're doing the old Sherlock Holmes bit where they just release 3 movies on Netflix instead. But the way they're doing it is really smart because they're telling individual stories that are kind of lame. I mean, they're just, you know, slasher movie. You can only do so much with a slasher movie. And then the second one is a slasher movie. You can only do so much with a slasher movie. So by the time you get to, you know, this third one, which appears to be about a witch, I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like The Witch. Basically what I'm saying is I think that the big story is going to be greater than the sum of its parts. Like individually, each one of these movies isn't much more than a C+, B-. But, you know, the big overall finished 3-part thing might actually be, you know, a B, a solid B, weak B+, B-ish. It's very B-ish. But, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of B stuff in a while, so it's a welcome change. On a side note, one of the things that bothers me about this, in my mind, R.L. Stine is for children, but now R.L. Stine has moved on to making adult fanfare, you know? But instead of seeing that, I feel like I'm seeing children do adult stuff. Like, normally you take some, you know, Hollywood starlet who's like 25 and you say she's in high school and you make a movie, a horror movie like that, right? But in this, they use like actual like preteens and teenagers, so when people get stabbed in the chest, it's extra brutal and rough. It kind of reminds me of that movie Kids that came out in the 90s with Chloe Sevigny, where you feel like you're spying on these people. And that's kind of how I feel when I'm watching this. Like, I feel like I'm too grown to be watching this children's stuff, but I mean, they're having sex and doing drugs and stuff, and then next thing you know, somebody's face gets pushed into a deli slicer, and it's like, oh, well, this is clearly made for me. You know, the director might as well just come on screen and be like, hi, Don. My thing, I feel like I've found a book and I picked it up and started reading it, and then I realized it was my niece's diary. You know, like, what is this? Yeah, put that away. You know, like I say, some horrific things happen, and it's like, oh, clearly this is made for adults. It's just so... The violence is so much more visceral. Like, the ending of this is almost a very similar ending to Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, 2? One of the Halloweens. Ends almost this exact same way, but for some reason I empathized and sympathized with these characters more, I think because they were children, because who stabs preteens? I mean, the fuck, what's wrong with you, R.L. Stine? Jesus. I'll check back in when the third one comes out and we can, you know, dissect the big whole story. But first one, creepy slasher movie, kind of like Scream. Second one, creepy slasher movie, kind of like Friday the 13th, but it also connects the first movie to the third movie. Third movie is supposed to be like The Witch. It seems like we're headed in a good place, but there's always a chance that somebody could screw this up. So let's keep our fingers crossed that the third installment keeps going strong and lands the plane safely.